So, what day is it? Like the 19th? Yeah, it's Friday. Is it Friday? It is Friday, August 19th, 2020, to about 5:41 a.m. In and out of sleep all night, but I think it's because I'm perimenopausal, and it could be because of some other events that are going on, and I'll share those in a minute. And this subconsciously. Jeez, I got all kinds of stuff going on with me trying to do this dream video. Now I'm thirsty out of the blue, like extremely thirsty. It's crazy. Hold on. And I would put it on pause, but I tried that before and it just causing issues, so I'm not gonna do that. I have a lot of stuff in my freezer. Some cheese just fell out. Okay. Okay, so the dream. So a big room place. It was like, it looked kind of like a school that was abandoned, that was converted into something else. A bunch of us were seemingly herded there, and we were initially led there by something else. But then there were all these white men, looked like between 25 to 35. They were big, robust white men with like lumberjack type jackets, red beards, big beards. And at first we didn't really know what was going on. There was one room where my sister was in, and from her room, she was almost like at a desk, and behind her there was a window you could see outside. Directly on the window that you could see outside, there was like some kind of mattress, and there was these like ghetto black girls twerking, and they looked like they were from the 80s. And my brother was in there just hanging out. And then there was a room that was adjacent to that room that had a door that led to it. And there was a bunch of those big burly white guys that I talked about. And it was like a game room. Kind of, it had the feel of maybe they were playing Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. But they were pretending to be nice, but they had something else going on. I know how this dream relates to real life, and I'll tell y'all in a minute. But then outside of there was a long hallway with like hospital gurneys and all that stuff. And there was a room off the room, and in the dream, I was probably like 16. My brother was probably like 8 or 9. My sister seemed to be older in the dream, like 30-ish. And I was sitting, I don't know what she looked like at 30-ish because I wasn't around then, but I was sitting at the table and the guys were talking, and they were really kind of ignoring me at first, but I was listening out the corner of my ear. We were all waiting. And I started to hear some things that disturbed me a little bit. And then there was a part of the dream where I was in this huge living room, and it reminded me of a living room that maybe a friend of the family's had, but I was sitting in the living room watching TV, and I remember there was like one of those foldable chair recliner things that you could fold, like that sat on the floor and you could unfold and fold it. They were just basically a bunch of cushions that were sewn together in a way that they could be flipped into different pieces of furniture. There was 2 of those. As I was sitting there working on stuff, there I had 2 of them sitting beside me. One was like a big couch kind, the other one was something smaller, but it was folded up into just a big block. A little black girl, again, really, perceptions of real ghetto, but kind of malnourished, real black, and a little bit of scabies on the skin, a little bit of buck teeth, and hair was braided. And she was coming over to play. She didn't really talk much. And she took one of my foldable cushion things, and my brother was little in the dream, like 8 or 9. She looked like she was 6 or 7. Took the other one. And I was like, okay, that's kind of bold, but then I let them play. And then I forget what happened next. Somehow I ended up going to another room, and I couldn't find my brother and my sister. This is what happened. I couldn't find my brother and sister. So I went into the room that were those that was connected to the room where my sister and brother were. So I opened the door. As soon as I opened the door, I wasn't really being observant or paying attention. But, as soon as I opened, all the conversation stopped. It was those white guys. And they're, like I said, between the ages of 25 to 40. This is my second time trying to record this, so I might not have said it during this video. But everything stopped, and one of the guys was more friendly towards me or vocal towards me, and he was okay. But there was something weird. They got the feel of the insurrectionists or whatever. And I was like, ooh, without anybody saying, I was like, I should have knocked first. And one of the guys said, yeah, you should have knocked first. And I wasn't really paying attention, but he had a gun in his hand. And I was pretending like I didn't notice. I just backed out and said, okay. And I went and sat in the living room, and not in that kind of tone, but okay, as in, all right, just went back and sat in the living room. And my little brother and sister, something weird was going on. And for some reason, oh man, it's crazy. But more of it's unfolding as I think about it. But so my brother came over and I was like, where have you been? And then basically, I think he got picked up and trafficked or something, because when he came back, my brother's kind of my complexion, dark now, but when he was little, up until like about 8 or 9, he was very light skinned, like Tia and Tamara's little brother, light skinned. And I said, what's wrong? And I said, did you get trafficked or something? And he opened his mouth and his teeth were gone. And I was like, what in the world? So I started putting like these little caps on his teeth. And I held him to me. Like I said, in the dream, he was little for some reason. And I was like holding him and patting him on his back. Like, it's okay. Did you get trafficked? What happened? Something. And I still didn't know where my sister was, right? And so then it turned out that those men, those big white men, were all hurting us somewhere. They were part of our group, which were together, and they seemed helpful at first, but then they took control over it. And basically, it took control of it without taking control of it. They were just like, oh, and there were cameras everywhere, but the way that they did things, you couldn't tell what was going on. And even if you were right then and there, you really didn't know what was going on unless you overheard the weird conversations. And so they were hurting us somewhere. And, oh man. And in the group, there was another group that was kind of like me that knew what was going on, but they was being quiet about it. It was it was a black guy, probably 35 to 45, 55 maybe, and his son and another little kid that was his. And, I was like, we should try to hook up with them so we wouldn't be so all alone. There was like a little space in between us, but I think they had it in their mind made up by the time, when I look back on it, it looks like they probably had their mind made up that it was just going to be them and they were going to stay strong together, and it was them against everybody else, no matter what happened. So as we continue through, I realized that I had like fake teeth or something in too. It was really weird. Like, how when you were little in Halloween, you just had something that you placed in your mouth and it went over your lips. It was that kind of thing. It was so weird. And then something about we stopped somewhere and there was a guy that was on his computer and he had these things on his fingertips and he was playing a computer game. And the guy, one of the insurrection guys, got mad and he was like, what are you doing? Such and such and such. He was like, oh, it's an invisible cloak and whatever. And he was like, but don't worry, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And he got mad at him, snatched it from him, snatched the tips off of his finger, the game tips off of his fingers. And I don't remember the rest. But there was one part in the dream, this is where my ex-boyfriend came in. I was in that long living room I was talking to y'all about. And I was sitting in a chair, kind of like a chair with a desk. And the TV was on. I wasn't really watching it. There was a sofa in front of me. All of a sudden, my ex-boyfriend came out of nowhere, came bounding through the door like a portal or something. And, and I was like, don't come over here. Don't come near me. I don't want you. Go away. Go away. I don't want you. Don't come over here. Don't come over here. I didn't want whatever that was. I don't know if it was really him or entity or what, but I was like, no, don't come over here. And so he went back out through the door, the portal, and left. And then the dream continued on from there. There was 2 other pieces of the dream that was like a nightmare. I don't remember. It was right immediately before the ex-boyfriend part came in, but I don't remember it. How this all relates to my real life. For the past few days, I've had some things going on, so I would be up late night, which, for those people that are very vibrational, things change in the world. So sometimes you do be up, but, I was in this room. So I have Kick, and I've had it forever, but I have it just to chat occasionally. Don't nobody hit me up though, but just to chat occasionally. And Kick has this new thing with lives, and I was like, I'm not clicking on none of that stuff because to me it was all like those bots that are soliciting and stuff like that. But actually, it's gotten better. The lives are like actual real lives because they suggest one to you, and one has something about honest, whatever. But of course, all the ones they suggest are white people, and you can't really scroll, at least not on the device that I'm using on the live. So I clicked on it, and I was at first pleasantly surprised. It all seemed good. But then I didn't realize what was going on. There was a guy that had on like a ski mask, and this is in real life, that was like joining the Kick and talking. And he was probably like racially ambiguous is what I think what was happening. But as I sat there a little bit, I started to get the feel, and I have black in my, not in my screen name necessarily, but it's in my username, and you can see my username if you see my screen name. And, the guy first seemed like good, a wholesome white guy. He was like, only for those that are spiritually enlightened, right? So that's why I went in, I think, because I wouldn't have clicked on it otherwise. And then there was a guy that was there, and he was in a mask, and he seemed racially ambiguous. The guy that was running the thing was white, skinny white, and I think as he talked, he was only 23. He owns a lot of farmland or something. But as I sat there, and he probably didn't know I was black until he probably clicked to see what I was or whatever. And I do have all the information on there. But I started to get the feeling like this was for white people only. Like it was like they were having a conversation about the guys that were from the January 16th, the insurrection, standing outside of the FBI building somewhere in real life, like in real life. And I was just like, oh yeah, those guys, whatever. And basically he was saying he was with those guys, whatever. And they were trying to do some bad stuff. And I was like, but that's the feel that the dream had too. Like they were hitting at things, but they didn't say it directly. And I think the live stream was probably initially set up for his people to come in. And I think the reason that guy wore a mask in there was probably because he wasn't really white. But through the holes, the skin around was light skin. The way he talked, he sounded like he could be black or Latin, but well spoken. And I didn't know what was going on until the mask guy kept speaking up for me, like I would say something. And I didn't catch it because, of course, I'm naive. I didn't catch it, but, there was little shots being taken. And speaking of which, one of the things I was talking about, because I didn't notice it until like the middle, the guy ended up the guy that hosted the thing, putting on his Trump MAGA hat just to let me know, I guess, that I wasn't welcome. But again, I didn't catch on because I wasn't looking at that, just like in the dream, when the guy had his gun out, I wasn't really looking at the gun, but I came aware of it after the fact, right? So it's kind of like that. And I have some real weird things going on in my real life that I haven't shared with you guys, but scary, scary things. And I'm going to tell y'all about them in a minute. And it's so funny because it's not related to one particular person or thing. It's like everything, so somehow it's all interconnected, but I'll tell y'all in a minute, but I'm going to go solve that today. Or maybe I won't tell you ahead of time because you never know who's watching. But after I resolve it, maybe I'll share it. But it's been really weird lately, but, anyhow, but, it is what it is. Everything's for the greater good. Everything works in your favor, whether you know it or not. So, but going back to what I was talking about. So yeah, that conversation and that Kick. And then I guess I was starting to blow. And then the guy that was hosting was like, why do you always wear a mask? He was like, I always wear a mask. But I think it's because he's racially ambiguous and he's infiltrating those spaces to let people know, to find out what's going on. And I think that guy was trying to set his own little separate group of people. So be careful. I see a lot of, be careful. I'm not racist like that. Everybody's racist and that you recognize the difference between races, but I'm not racist in a way that's, where you're hating people or you're saying negative things about people or things like that. But I think that there are white people out there that there's some things that are going on, so be careful. Be very careful. What else? Correlations to real life. Usually when you have a dream about not having teeth or teeth falling out, it's because your mouth is going to get you in trouble. Basically, you're giving too much information. It's what it is, which also may be true. Y'all know I'm very open. Even though I haven't been on here lately, I am very open. But anyhow, I'm going to let it go at that. And what's ironic is I recently posted something on Whisper. And it was something about not reacting too quickly, to take your time, even if it means just standing completely still and doing nothing. And then waiting for the right moment to strike and collect your harvest. And I can admit I haven't been very wise in that. But that's definitely something that I need to have as my screensaver. Right now, my screensaver is my Korean keyboard, which I've abandoned. I haven't been doing hardly anything Korean in the past week. But yeah, so for me, the warning is be careful about what you disclose. Also, be aware of your surroundings. Be more aware. I jump right in and I don't really look at people as, okay, they may have ulterior motives, because I've never had any. So we often see other people as we see ourselves. But with the climate of the way things are, the world is changing really rapidly. And I won't say some of the rumors that are out there, but because, who wants to live in fear? But anyways, I love you guys. That was my dream vlog. Have a great day.